Hello, my absolutely beautiful astrology soulmates. It's me, Stormie Grace, and welcome to your weekly horoscope for the week of October 7th, where this week, actually kind of a dynamic week because we've got both Jupiter and Pluto changing directions, and that is a lot of energy. That is a signal to us as they are both not only one of them an outer planet, like the most outer planet that has been signaling change and bringing destruction and transformation into our lives since 2008, but Jupiter being in Gemini, also being one of our transpersonal planets, has really brought a lot of curiosity and the busyness of the mind really to the surface. And so each of us in our own ways have had to kind of find ways to tend to all of the energy that's been coming in. How do I deal with that? What do I do? Which direction do I go? Goodness knows that AI and everything else have sped up information. So we've really been in this expanded center of communication and noise, to include some of those distractions. So as we're going to see these two energies shift direction, it really is showing us, man, we are at not only the dawn of a new day, but first we're finishing out these last moments of gathering information in the world as we know it before we officially take that Pluto in Aquarius step in November really into a whole new world order. So it's really a dynamic week. And as things are big and busy out in the mundane sector, I also like to make sure that we bring them home and we look at what we can do with those personally in our own lives. All right, my beautiful friends, if you haven't grabbed your 2025 digital transit calendars from our friends at Wise Skies Collective, make sure that you click in the description box down below, use my code, get a little discount so that you can see the transits coming to you all the time. And speaking of these big, beautiful transits, the 2025 videos are in production right now. And I want to let you know they will not be released until November. There's a lot going on. It's the end of the year. So there's astrology content coming out. There's election content coming out. There's travel content and school content. So we're going to take the temperature down just a little bit, and we will be presenting you those videos in November. And I'm so excited I brought you 4 additional astrologers. We're going to walk you all the way through 2025 from your financial, your medical, your relationships, and how you can spiritually develop. And let me tell you what, it is not just 5 astrologers getting together because people do astrology. It's 5 astrologers who are prepared to walk with you for an entire year of education, of services, of guidance, of whatever you need to grow in 2025. And I'm really excited to bring that to you. And if you are ready for a little sneak peek before those videos come out, you can head over to my blog at stormiegrace.com, where we've got the 2025 astrological previews done by our guest astrologer, Mick Collins. So head over there, check it out. Let's get ready for 2025. But before that, let's do the week. And remember that the timestamps are in the description box down below. So if you need to go to a particular day, click down there and check it out. All right, before we jump in, let's take a look at our quote of the week and the thought of the week to guide us. I love this quote. I say it quite often, as a matter of fact. Sometimes you have to let go of the life you planned to make room for the life that is waiting for you. I absolutely love that quote. And here's our thought of the week to guide you. This week, take a moment to celebrate how far you've come and how much you've learned along the way. Every challenge has brought you wisdom, and every experience has contributed to your growth. How can you honor the lessons you've gained and use them to fuel the next phase of your journey? Woof, what a great question. All right, let's jump in and see what Monday's got to offer to our thought and our quote of the week. All right, beautiful friends, as we are heading into Monday the 7th, first of all, we've got the moon traveling through the vibration of Sagittarius. So as we're coming in on our moon day, you know, the emotions, the space, the vibe is very expansive. First of all, when the moon is traveling through Sagittarius, we're wondering about truths. What truths do I have? What truths do I know about myself now? What truths do I know about the world? What truths do I know about fire? Sagittarius is a fire energy. What do I know about what actually gets me going, what I'm passionate about, what I'm curious about, what I want to go beyond my own horizons and know emotionally to experience? Now, when we're dealing with that Sagittarian energy, but we put it in a moon sign, which is about your emotions, okay? It's about the people. Really, what I want to point out to you to remember this week and to take with you is that it's really about going on the journey of your emotions, right? That's what the journey is. That's where the excitement's at for Sagittarius. It's like, I do want to know more. I do want to go deeper, but I want to do it in a way where the exploration of who and what I am is actually the journey. So remember that as the moon is traveling here just on this beautiful Monday, this moon day, as we're kicking off the week. Now, the 7th is actually quite quiet. So I want you to kind of keep that in mind and enjoy that Sagittarian moon energy, because when we get to Tuesday and Sunday this week, they are busy. Okay, as we roll into Tuesday, first of all, we see Venus coming into a trine with Mars. Now, that trine is creating a pocket of opportunity, but you have to go to the opportunity. This is not the one where the ease is there and we just naturally go to it. We have to step out of the door, turn the handle, and walk through it, okay? But as the lovers come into an ease with one another, there's a lot of passion here. There's a lot of drive. This is a lot of energy. But the thing I do want you to also keep in mind, just in case you didn't see it, but as of October 4th, we saw that Mars also stepped into its pre-retrograde shadow time. So Mars is in a bit of a state of reflection right now. It's starting to rethink about, what do I want? What do I need emotionally? And being quite optimistic about it, right? What are the actions I'm taking to get me towards the desires that I have emotionally? How do I find creative compromise with the things that I'm doing without fully losing myself? So as Venus and Mars are in a trine here, it's a really nice opportunity to, first of all, pay attention to what this Mars energy is starting to show you. You're starting to have a review of what you're thinking, what you're doing, what you even desire, especially along the emotional lines. And Venus here is just drawing to you, just attracting to you what you've already set the stage to be able to receive. So as these two are in tandem with one another here, look at, are you really drawing to yourself the experiences that emotionally fulfill you, actions that feel good to you, workouts that feel good to you, Mars? So make sure you're checking that out and using an opportunity to walk through the door and say, okay, what lessons have I learned? And how is this going to support me as I continue to walk forward in a new truth? How can I use the information that I've learned to build a habit that over the next 21 days of my life lets me, gives me that fuel to build something new in the next journey of in the next leg of the journey of my life. Now, later in the day, we're going to see that Mercury comes into a trine with Jupiter, and we actually already saw this in January, but it's the planet of the small mind coming into a nice conversation with the planet of the big mind, and Jupiter on its way to be turning retrograde just tomorrow. So Jupiter is in a slowed down state. It's been in its pre-retrograde shadow time energy since July. So Jupiter here is, thrilled to meet up with the detail-minded mercurial energy, but it's not moving as quickly. So I want you to kind of keep that in mind. And first things, where do you feel successful? We've had so many weeks and so much time where we need to look at, what do I need to shed? What are the lessons I'm learning? But here, where are you doing well? Where do you feel successful? Where can you actually stop and acknowledge the growth, the lessons, the new wisdom, the new experience that you've brought into your life? Because it also means that what you can focus on, what you're able to call to you to focus on, can expand now. And I always use the example of money because I think it's a really easy one to access for us. But if you were having a different financial experience and you said, I would really like to learn to build wealth, or I would like to learn to not have debt, where are you doing well on that journey? When you've said, I want to learn to use my voice more, I want to learn to make YouTube videos, I want to learn my partner more deeply, where can you say, today is a win? Here's where some of my wins have been stacking up for me, and I have a more expanded ability based on the focus of study that I was already taking on. Now, we're also going to see just behind that Mercury is going to come into an opposition with Chiron. So here you are celebrating this win. You're having this expanded energy, and I absolutely love it, because do focus on where you have a win. But also, as Mercury is opposing Chiron here, this is about that you have to essentially start to regard the world around you, regard your new identity very differently than how you were moving in the world before. And I know that I talked about this last week, where it was like, especially under that eclipse energy, who are the people, places, and things that you can't run with them anymore, not because they're bad people or bad organizations or bad groups. It's just that you're having to actually accept that you are different, and the direction that you want want to go is not in alignment with where you were before. Now, what naturally will come with this as Mercury is in this opposition to Chiron is, again, this acknowledgement of new fuel, right? Old ideas have started to dissolve because that old identity is like, I don't believe that anymore. And so it has changed your thinking. Now, something else that I think is good to remember here is that this is an opposition. So it naturally wants to spread out, sprout, right? And we actually want to integrate that. We want to bring that opposition into integration. So it is also a great time to do a little mental, maybe even do a communication inventory. Are you really sharing your thoughts and your feelings in your own voice with other people? You know, are you really listening to other people? Are you taking an opportunity, Mercury, to really be able to listen? Because you're listening from a completely different place. That's Chiron in Aries. This is a whole new identity. So these old ideas are dissolving, and your new space and capacity for being able to have human understanding, compassion, strength to step up and to speak up where you need to. This has all absolutely shifted. Now, one of the other things I was thinking of is, I think it was Gary Vee who said this, and I thought it was really profound. But he said, you know, what if people had to all day long have put into like a typewriter or something, a running script of how they talk to themselves all day long? What would we find out about how we actually speak to ourselves? And how would that change the way that we speak to ourselves and others? And that's something I think about under this Mercury Chiron energy. Is it's a great day to do a little communication inventory of even what you're talking about with yourself up here in your head. So take a little inventory and see if you like what is being said right up here. All right, as we get towards the end of the day, we are going to see very late that the moon goes void. Of course, this is going to be at 11:53 p.m. This is Mountain Time, so Colorado time, and it's going to go all the way into October 9th at 3:38 a.m. So this is really, if you're up late night, early morning, very nebulous time. The moon is not really connecting to anything, so it's not the best time to be making significant new decisions, signing anything, you know, making that one life choice that is really going to be the thing. Maybe you're mulling over the decision. You're finishing up some things. You are allowing yourself, you've created ceremony around deep rest for yourself as you're heading into the night. Now, as we get into the ninth, busy day, we're coming in, that void of course moon is still active, but during that void of course moon, we're also going to see that Jupiter is going to step into its retrograde in the vibration of Gemini. Now, Jupiter went into pre-retrograde shadow time July 15th, and this happened at 11 degrees of Gemini. And as it is coming to its actual retrograde time, it's at 21 degrees of Gemini. So please grab your chart, whether it is your natal chart, and if you're newer, always go to the natal chart first. But for the rest of you who are maybe looking at your solar return, your lunar return, your progress chart, whatever it is that you are looking at, maybe you've got a solar arc happening, let's see what is between 21 and 11 degrees of Gemini, because this is where we are going to begin this conversation. Now, the retrograde of Jupiter in Gemini in general, first of all, if you can think about how much information has absolutely been flying around since Jupiter got into Gemini, it has been busy, right? Because a Jupiterian transit is going to give us an opportunity to expand our thinking, expand our experience base, expand so that we are getting the experience that builds knowledge and wisdom. But first, there's been a lot of information while Jupiter was direct coming in, different choices. Listen to this. How about this? Go this way. Maybe I feel this way and this way, right? I want to learn this and that. And maybe they are absolutely not related at all. So there's been a lot of information and not a lot of it has had an opportunity to settle, which is why I think that the Jupiter retrograde period is going to be really good for all of us. Now, we're going to see Jupiter be in retrograde until February 4th of 2025. The full cycle will end in April, but we're really aiming for this February of 2025 business. So let's see. What are some themes that are going to be absolutely amplified? First of all, truly revisiting any kind of writing, networking, communication patterns, projects that have been presented to themselves. Because Gemini rules over conversation and networking, you're going to definitely see yourself going back over things, maybe even things that really came into idea or ideal as we were stepping into that pre-retrograde shadow time in July. And again, though, because this is Gemini, it's very much so feels like our transit that we had just a day ago with Mercury and Jupiter in conversation, because one of the biggest questions I have during our review time here is, are you really communicating clearly? Are you really listening to other people and what they're telling you, what they're saying to you, right? It is what you're saying and who you are saying it to and with really a grouping of people that are wise. And they're wise in the way that they can help you align with your deeper beliefs, or you're helping people align with their deeper beliefs. Because during this time, it's really a process of so much information that you need to be able to sift through it, which is a really, really great Gemini time. Now, something else to think about in your revision time is you may be going back over to expand your mindset, which means you're learning something else. You know, how many things came to your table where you're like, I need to learn this and I need to learn this. It almost could have felt like I need to fix everything, you know, I need to completely relearn this whole thing. And now as Jupiter is coming into its retrograde, you'll have an opportunity to go back and say, okay, first of all, what education do I actually want to go towards? And it will require me to have a much different mindset than education I've ever taken on previously, right? So that's going to be a really huge thing. Now, at a societal level, for sure, we're going to really see things. We're re-looking at the educational system. What is the value of education? What are the courses that, you know, you, me, I, us have been engaged in, and what value do they play into our society? These are going to be huge questions that we answer during this time. But I do think for some of you, this will be just really practical. You know, you're involved in some kind of academic setting or program or something like that, and you go, oh, I really don't want to study that. I really don't want to do that. For some of you, the retrograde will actually help you finish that course and get to what's next. It's so funny. I just keep seeing this vision. Please let me know if this is you in the comment section down below. You lost something, like you lost the program, you lost the hard drive, you lost your mouse, you lost your charger, something very Gemini, right? So it's got that electrical field. But during the Jupiter retrograde, you may actually find it, which is an absolutely brilliant thing. Now, one more thing I just want you to look out for during this Jupiter retrograde is the brilliance and the pleasure of letting some of the mental overload go. Like the information, the distractions, it's going to be easier to sift through them at this time, because when Jupiter goes retrograde, the expansion really comes inwards, right? And it's like, am I inwardly aligned with where I need to grow? So it will ask and beg the question of which distractions or which noise or which things are too much and I have to let something go in order to really, really focus in, okay? Now, if you happen to have Jupiter retrograde in your natal chart, this Jupiter retrograde, instead of calling you in, may actually be the time where you are being called so much more outwardly. You've been thinking about things. You've been having that internal experience. You've been growing with your internal wisdom and learning how to be more wise and beneficial to the world. And now, you know, your introspection is over and it is time for outward expansion. Get it done. You've got that project going in order. You know, the words for that book, for that content, for that course you're building, for that conversation you need to have with a family member, it could just be pouring out of you with a lot more ease. And it needs to, because the growth here now has to come from reflection. And the reflection has to be those words, those ideas, those thoughts, and those beliefs need to run into the mirror of another person, reflect back to you so that you can see where your outward growth has already begun, because you've been thinking about it inwardly. Do you have it down now? Have you really understood the lesson? That has to come from some kind of external challenge. So we'll definitely be seeing that energy on that that day. Okay, just behind that, we are going to see that the moon, when it finishes that void of course period, is going to step into the vibration of Capricorn. Now, the moon goes from this playful, fiery, expand my life, expand my world kind of energy, and we move the moon into Earth, which is when the moon is in Earth, I need to be with how I feel. I need to be with my emotions. I need to be grounded. I need to go, wait a minute, okay, emotionally, what do I need to do to be steady, to be grounded? Where do I need to delegate things? I'm taking on too much that is not actually my business, and I need to go, hold on, in the restructuring, replanning, reorganizing, which is very Capricornian. Which one of these things is actually my business? Now, one of the things that I've been thinking about, because I'm writing a presentation for one of the conferences and talking about some Capricorn energy. And so I was thinking about it this week, is in Capricorn, we deal with business. We deal with things in the material plane because it's an earth energy. So, where is there a space for you over this next couple days to look at what you really need to bring emotionally into your table, or you need to actually just practice it so that it's there, about stability and having long-term vision for your own emotional health, for your own the things around you that allow you to have a steadier emotional stability. Spiritually, what are you grounded into? So whether you have money, you don't have money, you're okay. Financially, where have you learned to plan and realize that money is just a tool, and you're able to restructure around that so that your emotional life isn't going up and down. Instead, it's really, really very grounded. And while you are having an evaluation of any of these things, I would love for you to just have a little dish with some rosemary, nice grounded herb, some marjoram, bring that in. Anything that has to do too with slow cooking. I know we've talked about this before, but anything that makes it so you have to have this emotionally long-term experience with getting to the outcome of it in your food, this is great. One of those dishes that I think is a really, really good practice of that is French onion soup. French onion soup is a deliciously patient dish to make, and I think you should go for it. Let me know if you make French onion soup in the comment section down below. Okay, as we are going to head into Thursday, we're going to be bringing all of that energy with us, and we are still going to see that the moon is traveling through Capricorn, so we're still pretty grounded as we're traveling here on Thursday. And then we are going to run into the first quarter moon at 17 degrees of Capricorn. I love it because the first quarter moon tells us that we're in the action portion of a cycle that already started this January. So go back to January 11th of 2024. We had a new moon at 20 degrees of Capricorn, okay? What did you start? What seeds were you planting? You wanted to begin something there. You were like, I want to make a commitment to going this direction, to something that is stabilizing, something that goes this direction and has long-term implications to it. This thing that allows me to feel grounded, especially in the material plane. What were you building? Because you just planted the seeds of intention there. And now, as the first quarter is coming along, it's time for action. You're moving. This is a great day for business. This is a great day for taking action and for getting things done, because your job right now in this first quarter time, going all the way until July of 2025, is to be a builder, right? You have to tear down what is not working and will not be cannot support your path to getting you to stability, and you have to build towards the future that you want. Who are these new building blocks that you put in place that allow that emotional, financial, earthly stability to come in so that you can really feel grounded? Now, like I said, we're going to look at that energy. You're going to be building all the way until July of 2025, and then we'll see where it's time to pivot. So enjoy that energy, and please let me know. I'm going to go back into my chart as well. I have a vague idea, but I want to see if there's any other connections. But let me know what you were building at that time, that you started at that time, that you're going to be building now. Now, as we get to Friday, we're going to see that the moon steps into void, of course, from 9:52 a.m., just going until 10:30 a.m., and that's mountain time. So this is going to be just a little under an hour where I'm going to just encourage you to rest, to reflect. Remember that the universe is kind. I wouldn't be, even if you have to be in a meeting at that time, maybe you share at the end, right? Be one of those people who shares at the end of the meeting. Just after that, we'll see the moon shift into the vibration of Aquarius. And now this is a little bit more teamwork makes the dream work kind of thing. I will never forget going on an interview, and the lady asked me, I was in my teens. I was not even my 20s yet. And the lady said, can you tell me about, what's significant about the word team? I have Uranus in the 4th house. And the first thing that came to my mind and out of my mouth is that there's no I in team, but if you move the letters around, you can spell meat. I got the job. I got that job. Can you believe it? And I just sometimes think that is the moon in Aquarius. We're going to get really different in our responses. And it doesn't make them wrong. It's just because we're looking at something from a very different perspective. Now, with the moon traveling in Aquarius, first of all, it's like, okay, where can you look at you? Where can you look at your emotions, what you've been thinking, whatever's been ticking around in here or sitting on your heart from a different perspective? Because have you been too inflexible about it? Have you said it only is allowed to be these things that are in the box, and you need to see if you can spell that thing a different way, right? Or where can you get just different seating, get some emotional distance from what's been going on so that you can look at it in a more detached and objective kind of way. Now, I also think that this energy, because it's a bit more unconventional, it could be a couple days where you're attracting to you people, places, and situations that are a bit more unconventional. But there's something very collaborative and very collective about them that you need. You need the information. Now, also remember, while the universe is bringing these people to you, it's about freedom. Aquarius wants freedom. It does not want to be stuck in the same box, especially emotionally here, as the energies have been before. So it's a really beautiful energy. Bring some fennel into your life. It'll change the whole game, okay? All right, as we are going to end out the day on Friday, here it is. We've got Pluto turning direct in the vibration of Capricorn for the last time before it heads on and ushers us into this new world until 2043 in Aquarius. But as we see Pluto coming for its final direct motion here in Capricorn, first of all, it really marks what we all know to be a really intense, really transformative era that we've been in since 2008. And so just think about your life. Think about the world in particular that you live in, no matter where you live in the world. Think about what your world and your community has looked like and how different it is from now until 2008. But as Pluto is here in its last moments in Capricorn, what we have is this absolutely intense, potent vibration where it's going, okay, here are the last things we need to take care of. And I love it. Stephen Forrest, one of my teachers, talks about how when Pluto's taking its last stand like this, what it can feel like is that moment right before you're really going to take a very big test. And you're like, okay, do I have all of the answers? Like kind of that anxiety that can be in it. It's really transformative. It really has your attention. It's this space between I'm either going to really live after I take this test and know I did a great job and demonstrate the transformation, or that sense of, oh my gosh, what if I fail? Which I associate being a little bit closer to the power of death, right? Either way, walking through the door of this particular test is where the rebirth is at, because you're going to see what you know and you're going to see what you don't know. Now, Capricorn being our sign that is so much about the material plane, it's about structure, it's about ambition, right? As Pluto is finishing its stand here, at a collective level, what we desire, what our ambitions are, where we need to be in our own personal evolutions to bring about these transformations, new structures, and delivery of our ambitions. It's really, really in our face at this particular time. So as we travel between now and November, we are going to see the last final pushes and purges of corruption, of power imbalances, of power dynamics that are out of whack. We've seen all of this stuff going on with Diddy, and that is going to continue to pour out. That's going to pour out for quite some time, according to the astrology. So all of these things that we have seen, though, where there are these revelations of hidden power dynamics or imbalances being brought to the surface, this is going to continue on. And now collectively, as we're looking at this, this could even, I think, manifest itself in another social or governmental upheaval for sure, particularly to anybody who is in a position of leadership in our countries. But personally, this is where I don't want to miss it, because it is a time for each of us to take a step and a look back and go, okay, how am I interacting with power? What have I been taught about power, my own power that other people have? Are we holding on to power dynamics in our lives or control dynamics in our lives that are unhealthy? They are unwell. They are not in a good way, right? Because the Pluto at this last stand here in Capricorn is going to give us a chance to look at those patterns and let them fall away. One of the biggest patterns I've been seeing change for people, especially in this last 6 months, has really been this idea about wealth and about money. What it is, what it means, and realizing how many households did not have the conversation of what it was. It was simply, if people have money or they are wealthy, they are the bad guy. And today we have the doors opening where people who actually have wealth are having more conversations. People who have wealth of knowledge, people who have wealth of education, people who have wealth of experience, they're opening these doors and inviting people in. And in the places where that has not been in balance, we're seeing that those doors are getting cracked open and people are having a fall. Now, we're also going to, in these last stands of Pluto in Capricorn, we're going to be looking at how do we rebuild or maybe build so dramatically and in a new way the foundations for long-term stability, not only in our personal lives, but certainly in our communities on a societal level, right? Because there were long-term decisions that were put in place. These things were built under a Capricornian time frame. So there was long-range infrastructure, long-range leadership, long-range government, long-range ideas that were put in place, and they needed to die off very painfully and very slowly. So now as we reform those into what the world would have them be next, it's going to be neat to see what stays from the past because it's actually still valid and it's kind of cemented in place because of its still continued usefulness, and what is going to be shaped into something else. Now, on a personal level, when you hear me talk about it and you ask this question, it is time in these last months. Take structure of your own life. Really take stock of the structures in your own life. Are they solid? Do your ideas, do your physical structures, your financial structures, your home structures, do they actually support you? Do they support your growth? Depending on where this is happening in your chart, does that area have enough structure to support your growth? If you've been in a period, certainly all of our Capricorn energies who have been in this period of personal transformation since 2008, okay, now is the time where you maybe have to really look at those foundations and say, does this support my future self? Because your future self has to be able to fit into the Pluto and Aquarius vibration going forward. So whether it's a career, it's a relationship, it's your diet, it's your finances, I'm interested to see what you find out. All right, as we get to Saturday, right out of the gate, 1:34 a.m. Mountain Time, we're going to see that Jupiter, who's just recently popped into a retrograde, is now in a brilliant sextile with Chiron, okay? So this is a pocket of opportunity, but we intelligently take action on it. We go right to it. It's like, oop, okay, the door is open. I'm going through and look at all these cool things I found over here. Now with Jupiter and Chiron, what we've got is a healing moment based out of the fact that you are not living in a wound anymore. Now, whether that be that you are sharing something with somebody and you lighten the load for them just by telling the truth about your experience, Jupiter with it, or they are sharing their experience with you, and it's like, whoa, I'm not alone. I'm not terminally unique. And it doesn't have to be that it's a problem. Maybe you're sharing a dream, or maybe you're in a class and you guys are doing vision boards together. Whatever it is, there is this beautiful expanded energy about the wisdom and the experiences that you've been learning, that as you bring them together, it creates, and not only an emotional, but I think a really personal healing to your personality, to the dynamic of who you are, to who you are physically. Chiron is traveling through Aries, so this is personal. This is physical, personal, mental, my being, my identity, right? So you're demonstrating here on this day that there has been a healing. So I would say absolutely roll with it. And Chiron is also still retrograde until December. So this really, again, on the heels of this Pluto stuff that is showing us where you're healed around things from the past, this is a great energy where you're going, okay, experience has been an absolutely profound teacher for me, and now what have I learned and how do I usher that forward? Okay, friends, Sunday is wild. Sunday is very, very busy on the 13th. Okay, so first of all, what we've got is Mercury is now in a square to Pluto. This is a digging energy. Now, first of all, I do want to tell you, I would put up a little caution here, a couple little red lights flashing around, because what it's easy to do under this energy is misunderstand or misinterpret what's going on, because Pluto is a digging energy. Pluto is at this powerful vibration of Capricorn. So somebody says something to you and you take it really deep and really personal, and that's not what they were saying at all. And of course, this can go the other direction. This can also be a vibration of flat out deception, where you're like, you've been telling me that for a long time, and it turns out the pattern that I see here is this. And this can be personal as well. You've been telling yourself a story about something for a very long time, and you go, I've been deceiving myself. This is not true. This is not true. But the Plutonian piece that I like is that it gets you to the truth, right? And the truth is, depending on where your truth sensor lights up, it hits you in your heart and it lets you go, this is true. Or it hits you in your gut, right? Trust that. What's coming up for you that's getting fired in the heart, in the gut, in the intuition, because Pluto is living down there in the deep vibe of it to go, this is the truth or it's not the truth. Now, the other thing that I like about Pluto in this particular mix is no matter what your head is telling you, Mercury, Pluto is going to ask you in a really deep way, what is your motive? What is your motive? Why are you doing what you're doing? Because something is motivating you to be taking these actions, to be making these decisions, and some of them can be quite heavy decisions. What is motivating you to do that? And in terms of your own power, while you're trying to figure out what's motivating you, how do you keep ending up in the situations you're ending up in, it's also a great energy to see, what do you do with yourself when you are experiencing an internal power struggle? Do you eat? Do you go work out like crazy? Do you drink? How do you handle the power struggle of that internal man versus man kind of dynamic? Now, what I would not say is the best thing to do on Sunday, if you can avoid it. I wouldn't be going out to make I wouldn't be setting out to have the deepest conversations with like my loved one if something in you is already off, if you're already kind of looking for a little bit of a fight or something like that. Now, remember, the moon is traveling through Aquarius, so you're able to be a little bit more detached. So, it's okay. It's like, maybe early in the day, we're going to see that you could have a little bit more of a detached conversation, but I would put it much later in the day if you needed to. Within there, we're also going to see that the moon is going to shift void, of course, from 8:10 a.m. until 1:54 p.m. So this is, again, like I'm telling you, it's the time where it's like, just go back over things. Just go back over them. Nothing is an emergency except for an emergency. So give it a little space, give it a little breathing room here on Sunday. Just behind that, we're going to see several things. First of all, we are going to see that Mercury moves into Scorpio. So now those deep conversations that you wanted to have that have been brewing, you've just been sitting, being with the information, looking at your motives, looking at your patterns, looking at truths that need to reveal themselves. As Mercury moves into the vibration of Scorpio, you're much more easily able to identify, what are these or subconscious or deep forces that are motivating me? And you can literally speak them out, talk them out, right? It's like you can't address a problem until it rises to the surface and shows you that it's a problem, or you can't take new action on a truth until you see that it is the truth. So this is actually quite helpful. And sometimes what can happen with Mercury and Scorpio is somebody pops up and they can ask you a deep question for sure, but they'll ask you a very basic question and you have this like stutter step, and that's the place to go, whoa, hold on a minute, what happened here? What is that? Why don't I have a straight answer to this? That's a great place to explore. Now, the other thing I love about Scorpio energy is detox, detox, detox. Like poo it out. Poo it out. Okay, so if you need to write, you need to journal, you need to do an inventory, you need to write that letter that you are absolutely not going to send, you need to just put your feelings on paper, you need to put that meditation, you want to write that inspirational journal, that inspirational post that uplifts other people and reminds them of their passion, right? Do that. This is a great time to put the words out there. However, you just want to be mindful that when you are eliminating these words, when you are detoxing them, what intention do you have for them, and what will they do when those words come into contact with another human being? So be mindful. And I don't think you have to worry too much about being mindful, because the moon is going to shift into the vibration of Pisces, so your heart becomes kind. You have the servant's heart, right? There is kind of this space that's more spiritual. I don't want to do any harm. I want to be generous. I want to be kind. I want to be healing, even if it hurts. I want to have these conversations and share these words, even if they're painful, because we will come to the other side. And Pisces is the great womb. Everything is everything here. Everything is transmuted into the pain becomes the compassion. The compassion understands that it needs the pain, right? It becomes this really beautiful place. But it's also the time when the moon traveling in Pisces, it's a great time to look at where you're offering yourself emotional forgiveness, right? Where are you forgiving you? You're setting a boundary of, okay, head, you're not going to be making me all 6 levels of crazy. I forgive myself truly in my heart for whatever I believe that I need forgiveness for, and I'm able to transmute it and let it go under that Pisces energy. I'm able to rest more easily because I'm willing under the Pisces moon to shed that heavy blanket of resentment or unwanted obligation, or I'm willing to step more honestly into the review of my boundaries. Have I been holding my emotional boundaries, right? These are going to be questions that will be for your review as we're traveling through that Pisces energy. Have you a little lemon? Have you a little basil? Have you a little sage? Think about it. Have a nice cup of something and think about it. So as we get just past midday on Sunday, we still have 3 more aspects alive and well in the sky. One of them is that Mars is going to be in a square to Chiron. Now, Chiron is traveling through Aries, which is ruled by Mars. So as these two come together, I cannot help but think of our thought for this week, right? This question of, or this idea that every challenge has rebuilt me with wisdom. It has, and every experience has contributed to my growth, right? So as we see this Mars and Chiron square coming together, it's this remembrance that I keep hearing Kelly Clarkson, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I won't sing that, but you get it. Right? So it's this energy where it's like you can do hard things, and you've maybe needed to do hard things to reshape your emotional life. Mars is traveling through Cancer. It is in its pre-retrograde shadow time. So you are looking at this. You have the capacity to look at this from a different perspective and say, okay, where I'm having to go to that therapy or actually talk through these emotions or get into these deep layers of my body that has been keeping score and address that. That's the Martian side. It's because my Chiron and Aries side doesn't want to live in the wound anymore, right? I am able to I'm able to bring prayer, reflection, meditation into the understanding that I can do the hard things. And the hard things are where I persevere, where I learn to stand strong, where I learn to come through the other side, and then put the lesson down when I'm done learning it, right? But it all comes through, I get to that healing through taking active, courageous responsibility for everything that I'm doing and I'm thinking, especially in my emotional life. This is going to be a massive transit. I think it's very, very changeable for us here on Sunday. Now, just behind that, we'll see that the sun is actually in opposition to that Chiron energy as well. So I think it's, again, this idea for so many of us on this day that it's going to be, in the realm of codependency, and the realm of losing our own voice, and the realm of being out of balance. Where can we see that we have overcome those things and we were meant to? At this time, as the nodes have been traveling, especially that south node through Libra, where have you encountered every relationship dynamic that you have needed, especially over this last year, for you to overcome it, for you to move forward? There's been no relationship dynamic in your life that wasn't built into your lesson base. And seeing the pattern of how many times you've relived this particular relationship, or this particular pattern, or this particular set of fears, or this particular resentment, or this particular dynamic, and being able to now see that you have overcome it, you've come to the Aries side, I think is going to be a really beautiful thing on this day, because again, all of these challenges have brought us wisdom. Now, to the other side of it, instead of just being like all this heavy, what have I learned? I think that there's this brilliant energy on the other side where you are living in a way that you're like, I am fully in my me. And where is that? We talked about some celebration of yourself earlier in the week. So where are you feeling like, yeah, because I've been able to overcome some of those things, I am fully living in the most me that I am able to be on this particular day. So this is going to be an interesting energy. Now, as we are going to close out Sunday, and then this energy will carry into Monday as well, the sun is in a trine to Jupiter. Oh, brilliant. This is that big, confident, optimistic, surrounded by guardian angels kind of energy. It's like, yes, do believe in yourself. Do believe that you are living your best life. Celebrate the victories. Celebrate the experience. Hell, celebrate the hard things that you have overcome in this last week, in this last year. I think that this is also a great day as we're traveling Sunday into Monday. It's going to be a great time where, if you needed to bring new structure to anything, if you needed to expand and you were ready to expand something out and then put a structure behind it so that it has that long-term stability, you're going to be able to do it in a way that is really brilliant. Now, as we see these energies come together, it's an air trine. So this has a lot to do with your thinking. Where are you making plans? Where are you even watching yourself plan for something, think about something in a really different way? And this is nothing but a heavy, optimistic demonstration of your new confidence and ability to expand and move in a different direction, because those adversities have made you stronger. But I also think that it is also a great energy to demonstrate where you can share a message. Where you can share a message, you can share your experience, you can publish, you can market, you can broadcast, you can speak to a network of people, you can share something in your community that is actually going to bring experience and new wisdom and the expansion of thought and information into the people and the hearts around you as well. All right, my absolutely beautiful friends, let me know about your reflections on the quote and the thought of the week and how they are playing out for you as we watch the astrology unfold. I love you guys, and I will see you next week. Bye.